Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about The Unforgivable. The Unforgivable is an American drama that tells the story of Ruth Slater, a middle-aged woman released from prison for good behavior after having been charged with the murder of a police officer. Although she's a free woman, there's still some legal caveats that she has to tend to, and quickly finds out that the world isn't so welcoming for people like her. She does her best to try and reach out to her little sister Katie, who doesn't remember Ruth all that well due to being affected by trauma resulting from the officer's death. In spite of her best efforts, she continues to struggle in contacting her, as well as adjusting to society once more. The movie seems to be pretty split when it comes to overall opinions. On one hand, general audiences seem to be big fans of it, while professional critics aren't quite so forgiving. Personally, I find myself in the middle of the road with this one. As per usual, I'll start by going over the characters and performances. Sandra Bullock is obviously the star of the show in her lead role of Ruth Slater. She provides the perfect nuances to her character as someone who is desperate to fit back into the civilized world again, but can't escape the stigma that comes with being a convicted felon. She starts off cold and distant from others, no doubt part of the survival instinct she had while in prison. She goes so far as to physically attack and intimidate others in her way, indicating to the audience that she has a long way to go before she can feel some sense of normalcy again. And this is what makes her character so great. It takes time for Ruth to start warming up to others again. She carries this wall around her at all times, and it's not until a few people start showing her genuine kindness that she starts to lower it, and even then, she still remains on her guard. It's a believable way of showing how much a person can change just from being secluded in prison, and how they remain a shadow of their former selves even after they've served their time. It also helps that Sandra Bullock is a marvel to behold in her role, and I know I already said that, but it bears repeating. She has to deal with things like living in a halfway house, working 2 jobs, one of them a graveyard shift, and being unable to see her sister. All of these things weigh down in her character, and the way she's able to carry on in the face of her circumstances was inspiring and made me want to root for her. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the rest of the supporting characters. They're mostly competent in their performances, and they all serve their purpose in the story, but they can't hold a candle to Ruth Slater. I felt that her sister Katie had a bit of wasted potential. It is nice that the filmmakers give some depth to her character through trauma-induced flashbacks she suffers from, but all they do is provide a clue here and there for the audience to help make sense of Ruth's story. Beyond this, she doesn't have much else to do. Katie's foster parents help out where they can. I like that there's a duality between the two parents, in that the mother is all for visiting Ruth and telling her about Katie, while the father is against it. You can tell that they have Katie's best interests at heart, and they're not being mean to Ruth just for the sake of it. There's also a husband and wife duo played respectively by Vincent D'Onofrio and Viola Davis. Once again, there's a duality between the two, where the husband is a lawyer who wants to help Ruth, while the wife wants nothing to do with her. There's a variety of reactions that are captured regarding Ruth's criminal record, and they all unfold in natural ways. Well, almost all of them. There's a pair of brothers who are reeling from the death of their father, the cop who Ruth shot and killed, and feel it's an injustice that she was released. If I'm being brutally honest, I could not stand either of these characters. The first brother Keith hints at a drug addiction that is never witnessed at any point in the whole movie, and he loses interest in Ruth halfway through it, switching places with his brother Steve in what I thought was a very bizarre move. Steve isn't even interested in Ruth in the first place, but he changes his mind after seeing her work and reading a letter she wrote to Katie, which gives him the idea to kidnap her. His logic is extremely flawed, artificially adds conflict where it doesn't need to be, and in my opinion, it actually hurts the main message of the movie. And this leads me to talk about the message, which is forgiveness. Up to this point, Ruth's felony is treated in a gray area of sorts. One character usually has a different reaction toward Ruth than the other, which signifies that simply interacting with her isn't as simple as it would be with any other person. There's a lot of baggage that comes with being a felon, and this is something that the movie mostly gets right. One person might give her a gift, while another will physically assault her. There's no way to tell how someone will react to Ruth, and her hardships in managing these reactions are communicated effectively. It takes time not just for some, if any, to forgive Ruth, but for her to forgive herself too. But the two brothers oversimplify the issue. They get caught up in pointless arguments that serve no purpose to the story at hand, and there's a love triangle involved with them as well that goes nowhere. The worst thing about them is they cause an odd tonal shift in the story, making it go from a gritty drama to a quasi-thriller / revenge story. Their toxicity taints what could have been a meaningful drama and turns it into a bit of a joke. That's not to say that the movie doesn't doesn't have anything meaningful to say at all, I like how dark and foreboding the world this movie takes place in is. It does not shy away from portraying drug addicts and homeless people lying on the streets, all of whom likely found themselves in similar situations as Ruth. It paints a bleak picture in American society, which enhances the mood of the story. It's also fitting that Ruth wants to continue her previous line of work in carpentry. From a symbolic point of view, you could look at it as her building a new foundation for her life. The camera frequently films her behind a wooden framework while she builds as well, which gives the impression that she still sees herself as imprisoned in some form. So the symbolism is there if you want to look for it. One thing that I felt kind of got into the way of it was the recurring use of flashbacks. They seem to pop up every 10 to 15 minutes to drip feed details about what went on with Ruth's crime. I didn't mind seeing a few of them at first, but after a while they became distracting to the main narrative. There were even parts during the main narrative itself that frustrated me because I would have to rely on an upcoming flashback so as to receive further context into a particular scene, which is something I'm not a big fan of. This aside though, I do appreciate the effort the filmmakers put in with the more dramatic side of the movie. Ruth's meetings with her parole officer, confrontations with despots, and awkward first dates all paint a realistic picture on how difficult it is for felons to re-enter society. It's a shame that the filmmakers decided to cheapen its impact with so much thriller nonsense. Overall, The Unforgivable is a movie that explores the harsh world and new way of life criminals must endure in a world that doesn't want them, some of them a little less than others. If you like gritty dramas and you don't mind one that gets its genres mixed up in a really silly way, I think you'd enjoy this movie to a certain extent. It has a fantastic lead character and excellent messages regarding its theme of forgiveness, but the supporting characters leave a bit to be desired, and the story tends to get chopped up by flashbacks. I can forgive this movie for its shortcomings, but it still leaves me wondering how much better it could have been. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of The Unforgivable. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Spanish horror thriller 2. Bye bye!